My name is Robert Schieve. I moved to Duluth, Minnesota 5 years ago. I live in the Lincoln Park area. 53 years old.
Mm-hmm. What brought you to Duluth?
My wife was, or my future wife passed away, and I had an untimely death, and then my mother was sick that was in the reservation in the St. Croix, Chippewa tribe of Wisconsin. So I came back to spend time with her in her last days, and then I never grew up on a reservation, so I wanted to live in a place where, by a body of water, because I lived by a body of water my entire life, so Duluth was a good choice.
Duluth seemed like a great place. Are you working? What are you doing for a living? Are you retired or what?
Semi-retired.
From what?
I have a drug and alcohol field.
Okay.
I worked in the drug and alcohol field in Florida with adolescents between the ages of 12 and 17.
You work with kids of that age? Is that what you mean?
That's what I did.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
not
yeah.
what I do now.
Okay. And I know we had your eclipse where you were part of a suit against the Seaway. Are you living at the Seaway, or is that where you used to live, or
that's where I used to live.
Okay, that's where you used to live, and you're still in that neighborhood, though.
Yep.
Okay. And your reason for deciding to run for mayor?
Well, my first decision to run for mayor was on behalf of Steve O'Neill.
Mm-hmm.
He was a great humanitarian, he was a great man, and he loved the people of the city of Duluth. And I feel that no one should ever have to worry about being homeless. No one should always have a place to live and always have a place to eat and have food. And that's the main requirement for anybody. And it's just sad that there are still homeless people in this city, and it's something that we need to look at. There's one homeless shelter. There's satellite shelters, but they can't all fit in the amount of people that are homeless. So I'm looking into other facilities or other places that are abandoned in the city of Duluth that maybe we could look into rebuilding, resetting up, and keep his legacy going.
Okay. Convert those into shelters and housing, low-income housing and affordable housing.
Mm-hmm.
And is that really kind of your number one issue? That would be your top priority if you're elected? Okay. All right. And you decided to run for mayor. You've only been in Duluth 5 years. How are you getting your message out? I mean, I don't think a lot of people probably know you yet.
Not yet, but I basically started everything, so I'm getting out there as quick as possible. I'm trying to meet as many people as I can at other functions. I'd like to thank the Montgomery family for inviting me out to their National Night Out house party. That was very nice of them. I got to meet Miss or Mrs. Larson, Emily, and Mr. Horton. Well, I didn't meet Mr. Horton. He kind of shied away from me, and then Howie. But I haven't met the other opponents yet.
Holy cow, it sounds like that was the party to be at if you're in
it was. A lot of people showed up.
On the issue of homelessness, what could the mayor's office specifically be doing that it isn't doing now?
Well, I'm not sure if the mayor is not doing anything. I'm sure he's aware of the situation. I'm sure there's other more pressing things in his lineup, but I think the fact that if elected mayor, I would like to set up a program or a commission where they can look into it more deeply and see how much money the city can save, if not contribute to helping people. Like I said, I don't think anybody should ever have to be homeless.
Right.
And there's enough buildings that are empty that we could renovate.
Yeah.
Where the money comes from is a decision that I'll have to make later on or look into. I have more information I'm looking into right now that I haven't gotten yet, so my platform really isn't set at this time. But I feel very strongly about the city of Duluth, and I love the city of Duluth and its people, and I want to better, we talk about reform all the time, and reform is not a big word or a happy word for a lot of people, and taxes. I believe people, if they work in the city of Duluth or for the city of Duluth, should never have to pay for parking. I'm not a fan of parking meters, especially when I've lived in large cities most of my life, that I don't think the city of Duluth is big enough for parking meters. That's just my opinion and my opinion only. Right or wrong, that's the way I feel about it. If we can find better ways of usefulness, there's a lot of parking ramps in the city of Duluth that aren't full, that may be full once or twice a year, but you spend a lot of money to build those parking ramps and they should be filled. Another issue that I've been aware of is employees of the hospitals have to pay for parking. These people dedicated their lives, nurses and doctors and employees. Why should they have to pay to park to go to work? That should never be an issue whatsoever. And I think that's something that else that needs to be changed. I see a lot of areas in the city of Duluth that need to be repaired, and they look like they needed repair for many years.
Such as?
Such as streets, such as this overpass structure on 53. There's plenty of cracks in the overpass. The fencing underneath it needs to be redone or refinished, and the land around it needs to be cleaned up. It's nobody's fault. People throw their trash wherever they want to, I guess, but it needs to be cleaned up because it's a beautiful city.
Yeah.
And the structures and the old buildings and the history of this town is very important, and I enjoy it. I love the history of this town. As I wrote, and you'll see in my letter that I wrote to you, in fact, I believe this town reminds me of a Saturday Evening Post picture on the front page where the families gathering to have Thanksgiving dinner, and it's a family-oriented place, and I believe that settling down here, and this is my home. I feel very strongly about it, and that I will end my time here. When my time is up, this is where I'll be laid to rest. I'm no longer a Floridian, and
That's where you're from originally, or that's where you grew up? Yeah, okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's fine.
If elected mayor, you'd be following a fairly popular mayor who got some things done. Obviously, would you see your tenure as being a continuation of what Mayor Don Ness and his administration did, or would there be a departure and something new and different?
I think both. I think that we balance it out. I think Mr. Ness, Honorable Mayor Ness, is a great man. I have great respect for him. I've met him on quite a few issues with the Seaway, and he's an honest and direct man. And I will be the first to tell you that there's no way that I could be compared to him. I'm an individual. I have my own ideas, but I would like to keep his ideas going and balance that out with mine.
On some specific issues, the library has been a hot topic the last year or so with giant $35 million price tags to renovate or to build new. What do you think should happen with the library?
Well, with the library, I think the library is good, but I think there's the issue about the depot. The depot is a very historic building, and it's blocked from the view from everybody because of the library. If we can find a way to move that library and set it up someplace else and redesign it, sort of a modernized design of what the city is all about, that would be great. If we could keep it under $35 million, that would be great too.
Yeah.
And there's always ways to do that. We just, looking at the right people and the right engineers that maybe come up with a design that would be less cheap. And it's something that takes time and progress. And the sad thing is, I'm sorry to say this, but that's not that big of an issue. I feel that there's a lot more issues that are more important as people's lives are at stake. I noticed that people do a lot of swimming down there by the lakefront, the lake walk, but I've seen kids swim down there with no adult supervision. I would like to see, if they would like to swim there, maybe we could set up a beach area. Maybe we could set up 3 chairs down there with lifeguards that they can come out and swim in every summer. I think every child should have fun swimming and enjoying the lake, but with safety.
Closer to Canal Park here, you mean? Or yeah. I know there's a public beach, further down Park Point, but that's maybe quite a ways to get there for a lot of kids. Okay. Huh. So safety, or public safety, is an important issue for you.
And the wars and the unrest in the Middle East with ISIS, I would like to see more of a safe zone for the city of Duluth. Looking for more patrols out in the waters, keeping an eye on the land. 2001, we were attacked by a foreign country, which means we're not as strong as we think we are. It could always happen at any time. We have military installations in Duluth that need to be protected. They always can't be there to protect themselves, so the city of Duluth and the surrounding areas could help. And that's one of the things that really important to me is the safety of the people of Duluth.
So assist the Coast Guard, assist the National Guard, and
Yeah.
keep us all safe. Okay, is there a reason maybe that you or others don't feel safe now?
Well, there's always a
Or you're not
threat.
saying that maybe?
I'm not really saying that there's a threat now. I'm just
Okay.
saying that in the future it's something that we need to look at because, you know, there are threats against the United States and it could happen anywhere.
Mhm.
You know, military personnel are being shot down because of their background or because of their military affiliation, and that's something that is scary. And, you know, I want a place where the children have a future. You know, I love being a child. I love the opportunities I had as a child and as an adult. I've been blessed. I've had meetings and dinners with senators in Washington. I've had pictures and meetings with movie stars and sports stars, and I'm just some regular guy. I'm not anybody special. I just happen to be at the right place at the right time, I guess. And, you know, and my life has been blessed. I love it, and I'm still going to love it.
Chef, can I say,
Yeah,
on the
please.
safety issue, are you looking, city of Duluth to be take over? Are you looking for maybe, you know, they do community police patrols or the communities? Is
Maybe
that more
community.
what you're looking at?
Basically,
As
yeah.
opposed to the city setting up some sort of watchdog
No, not really. I'm
No.
just more or less the city.
city or
You know,
the
maybe
communities?
some groups community groups that might be available to spend some time to do, you know, watch the skies, watch the waterways and stuff like that, because, you know, there's threats to the United States of America, and we're not, you know, I don't know what word to use, but we're just as vulnerable as anybody else is. We have military installations in this area, and they can be attacked like any other place can be attacked. So I want the safety of the people of Duluth, and there's community programs out there that we could set up, then I would love to work in that area.
Everyone talks about Duluth's crumbling, difficult, bumpy streets or bad streets. I don't know if you consider that one of the top issues or not, but with the loss of the casino share or for revenues from the casino, you know, to pay for the streets, that's become the question: is how do we pay to fix our streets? And
Well, yeah, the streets are bad, and they will continue to be bad because the way they repair them, they do minor repairs and not fully repair that they needed. The loss of the income from the casino is an issue, but I realize with communications with the right people that we can revise or reform the relationship between the tribes in Minnesota and Duluth, especially the Fond du Lac tribe. Being Native myself, I don't, not necessarily saying that's a plus, but it's at least a start. I know the language, I know the meaning of our ways, and Karen Diver's a wonderful person. I've met her on a few occasions. She's up front, honest, and straightforward, and it's something I am the same way, and it's something that we could redo. You know, I know it's an issue, but a lot of people don't understand that when you deal with tribes or any federal thing or any issue with casinos or gaming anywhere in the state of Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, it's a federal issue. It's not a city or county issue, it's a state, it's a federal issue. And it's something that people might be upset about, people might be angry about, but the bottom line is that they don't have control over that. It's a federal issue, and I would like to be able to continue relationships with the Fond du Lac tribe because of their casinos in Duluth, and do better communications with them, and keep track of what's going on with the casino, and you know what's going on with the Carter Hotel and what their plans are, and go from there. I know there's a historical program out there trying to fight that Carter situation, but you know it's a losing battle, and I feel bad about that because I love history, I love historic buildings, I love everything about it, but when it has to do with issues as far as money or anything like that, you just can't fight it. It's fighting a losing battle, and if taxpayers are paying for it, that's not a plus. So we need to get back to a relationship with the tribe that maybe we can compromise and say that, okay, the casino thing is off limits, but maybe you could donate X amount of dollars to the city of Duluth because your facility is in the city of Duluth.
right.
And we could go through that way. We can't force tribes or any federally recognized tribes in the state of Minnesota to do anything, but we could always ask. And being Native, there's certain ways that we deal with our way of life that are different from the non-Native people, and so it might be a little easier for me. And I'm not saying that Mr. Ness, our honorable mayor now, hasn't probably tried, or maybe he's gritted his teeth a few times, but it might be a little easier for me.
Okay. So there's hope to kind of mend those relations.
Right.
But you definitely see them as strained right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. City needs, with state bonding, next year's a bonding year at the state legislature. They talked about the water plant, or the steam plant, excuse me, in Superior Street. What do you think Duluth's priorities should be?
I think I thought that water issue was already taken care of.
The steam plant, I meant.
Okay.
They're converting it to a green, rather than coal-fired.
Well, anything that's better for the environment is great.
Sure.
And as far as the bonding issue, that's something that we need to look into more for next year. And I'm not ready to, there's a few issues that I'm not ready to make public right now, because there's still things I'm investigating and getting more information about before I say anything about it. But some of the questions that you asked, I do have knowledge of, but that's something that I need to have more information on and investigate more.
Okay. We talked a little bit about the street repairs. Another core service that's, just finds itself in the news because of its nature is of course, crime and police activity. And do you feel that Duluth is a safe place, or what can we do to make it safer? Or?
I think it's a safe place, but I also think there's more that we can do, more patrols out there. The police and the fire department give their lives out every day, and I think the city needs to support that, and I think there needs to be more an outreach on the police department. I've heard about beatings, I've heard about, I've seen videos, and that should never happen. But nobody's perfect. There's always a few bad apples in a bushel, and it's something that we need to look at. The crime rate in the city of Duluth, I'm sure, is very high, but we can cut that to a minimum, because we're never going to be able to stop it. We can't be in houses every 24 hours, and if we know where the drug people are or the bad people are, then we can monitor them. Mm-hmm. And if it gets to the point, on some reservations in Wisconsin, they literally kicked out those people off the reservation. They're no longer welcomed on that reservation. If the city could do that, that would be great.
So I don't think the city can do that.
I know. I'm just saying that would be great if we could find a way that, hey, you're a drug person, or you're a criminal and you don't belong here. We don't want you, but we can't do that. Okay. There's some issues that I think government should stay out of, but I would like to make it safer. I would like to see more patrols around it if we can, and if police need to be hired, we need to find more money that we can do that. And as far as the police department and the fire department, I would like to see them have a raise.
Okay.
And all city employees, actually.
And why is that? Sorry, go ahead.
Where are you going to get the money to do that?
That's another thing I'm not ready to reveal yet. Like I said, there's just a few things that are left out there that I need more information on, and that I'm waiting on right now. I have people out there working, so they need to get that information as quick as possible so I can set up basically my final platform, that the next time I speak to the city, that I'll have that information full and a full list, and you'll be the first to know.
So you're still determining kind of the ways the city can increase revenue.
Yeah.
First of all, to make up for the loss of parking meter revenue, and then so we have enough to give raises to all public employees. And I'd be curious to hear what you come up with. I think that's a magic question a lot of people have. Another issue that takes money, I guess, is housing. There's been talk of the need for both affordable and workforce housing in Duluth. We're kind of lagging behind. Do you have any ideas for how to encourage that, how to encourage development, how to encourage subsidies, things like that?
Well, I think the most idea is finding the right areas in Duluth where they can. There's a lot of spaces that are empty. There's a lot of property that's out there that we need to look at, that we can maybe come up with some ideas. Everything is about change, and everything is about reform and taxes, and it's something that most people don't want to discuss, that most people are afraid to hear, because they wonder, hey, when you talk about reform, you talk about taxes, oh my God, our taxes are going to be raised, the reform, they're going to cut this and cut that or whatever. I'm not really so sure reform means that. I think it just means we do it a different way and finding different ways to better our city. And that's the primary purpose of this, is that we need to do things and change the city's environment right now. Like I said, the homeless, the streets, the 53 overpass, they need repairs and they need to be cleaned up. The mayor talks about, I believe, tourism, and he talks about maybe getting a cruise ship up here. Those are great ideas, but let's take care of Duluth first and their needs and what the people need. The only blemish I feel that Duluth has is the racism issue. I've lived in I shouldn't say a lot of places, I've lived other places, and I've never had to deal with racism until I moved to Duluth, ever.
And in what way are you dealing with them? I mean, can you tell us about it a little bit, your experience?
More programs, more getting the people to understand other cultures.
But what are you facing? What have you?
I've been threatened already.
Really? Wow.
My life has been threatened. It's, you know, it's just something that has to go with the territory, I guess. And,
Because you're native, or that played into it?
Because I'm native.
Wow, okay. And I think that's an issue that takes a lot of awareness and a lot of people talking about it. How can we get the right people talking about it?
Well, I think the group should come together, have a forum at one point, and let other people know that they are there. You can't stop people from living anywhere.
Right.
And whether they're colored or non-native or whatever, that's just the way it is. You got Japanese, Chinese, Hmong people, Spanish American, Jewish American, Italian American. These are all wonderful cultures. But the sad thing is there's people out there that still think that the only way is their way, and we don't belong here. Well, I'm sorry to tell you that, but I don't feel that way.
Sure.
Like I said, I love the city of Duluth. I love the people of Duluth, and this is a fine place to live. And I'm not going to let anybody run me out of town.
Well, I'm glad you found a home here. It's a large field of mayoral candidates. What kind of sets you apart? Why should voters support you?
Well, all the voters, I think, to be fair, I think Miss Larson and Howie and the ones I've met, they have more experience than I do, and I understand. I mean, I think Emily is a wonderful person. If she was elected mayor, and if I get beat by all these guys, if I got one vote, I'd be happy as heck. I would do a jig.
You should get your own.
Well, okay, two then.
Two votes.
There you go.
Two votes, and then I can do a jig.
Yeah.
My experience in the political realm is not that much, but I have been involved being an activist. I'm more, I wouldn't say famous, I'm more infamous. I like the idea of standing up for people's rights, and that's all people, just not my people, just all people. And in 1996, I sat in front of a cemetery in Maryland Island because they stole artifacts of Native American background.
Yeah.
And also in 1996, I sat on the railroad tracks with the band members of Bad River Indian tribe, stopping an $11 billion company through carrying sulfuric acid through ceded territory. I helped with a walk around Lake Superior in the late 90s until my truck jacked 50 miles north of, or 50 miles south of Grand Marais, and then I was finished for that tour. But I just don't. I find myself, when my fiance passed away, I just realized that my life in Florida was over. I lost a lot of my friends through sickness and cancer, and you know, I have one friend left in Florida, and moving it is not that big of a deal, but you know, you wake up and you find your place where you are, and if there's something that you can do, and the time I spent with Mr. O'Neill was a very wonderful time. I learned so much from him, and it's something that I feel that I can do and live on, and keep his legacy going. Make sure that, like I said, nobody should ever be homeless. Nobody ever, the services in town here are broken, their systems are broken, and they need to be fixed. No one over my age should ever be denied food, shelter, or medical, regardless of income. You know, where your status in this society should never be an issue ever. You know, I respect all people. I love all people because that was the way I was brought up. Doesn't matter what color you are. The only time that it's bad is if you do something bad to me, and then I won't like you, but that won't mean I hate you either. You know, hate's not a word in my culture or any part of my life. And I think the fact that we can get that issue out there and present it in a way that people can understand it. I'm not here to throw things down people's throat. I can't force that on anybody. I mean, that's just a part of life. That's just a part of my lifestyle. I've been called a lot of names, which is kind of funny to me, so it pissed them all off. But I've never had anybody call me a timber nigger before, and I just heard that the other day. That was kind of funny to me. Because I don't live in the woods. I mean, my people did thousands of years ago, but I don't.
Right.
So that was a little funny. And you know, having people threaten my life is, you know, I've had a gun pointed at me, I've been stabbed. It doesn't bother me. I'm not afraid of it. I mean, if I'm going to die, then I have no control over that.
Right.
I have a lot of faith in a God to my understanding, and I'm a very simple and spiritual man. I think just being able to live each day is a wonderful thing, and I cherish it every day. And whether I'm the best mayor at all, I don't know that. I can't say that. I know everybody has more experience than me, but you know, you have to start somewhere.
Sure.
And learning the process and understanding the needs of the city of Duluth is very interesting to me, and it's surprising to hear some of the things I've already heard. You know, like I said, I don't think anybody should have to pay to go to work, especially if they work in hospitals. That's just, it boggles the mind to me that why nurses and doctors have to pay for their parking to go to work
Right.
when they're saving our lives and dedicated their lives to saving our lives. I don't think that should ever happen. So.